You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okelo, and I am in Seattle, Washington. And I have a really special guest here with me today for today's session of the Daily African Proverbs. My guest today is called Kendi Mumanyi, and Kendi is the CEO of Bobo Telecom, but he's also a seasoned entrepreneur here in Seattle, where we both live, but he's originally from Kenya. Kendi is originally from Kenya, and he's a brother that I met a couple of years ago. He's always into technology. He's always up to something good for the community. So today we want to learn a little more about him. We want to go a little deeper and learn, first of all, his perspective on the proverb that we are going to be discussing today, which is from Nigeria. And secondly, we are going to learn a little more about, a story that inspires Kendi today. Kendi, as I said earlier, is someone who is always trying to find solutions to some of the problems that we are facing as a community, but he's using technology to solve some of these problems. So that's going to be, the focus of our conversation today. I'm trying to pin the link to the live stream on Clubhouse so that those who are on Clubhouse can also join us live and direct. So just give me 1 minute if you are on Clubhouse, and I will share the link with you at the top of the room in just a second. But I want to welcome Cabs, Lavender, Stella, everybody who is in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us, and also everyone who has joined us on YouTube. I truly appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, and push the thumbs up button so that when we are live next time, you can catch us. And also, if you're on Clubhouse, make sure you're pinging people into the room, 3 to 5 people, so that we can, build this village fire. And the proverb we are discussing today from Nigeria, it says that, a bag that says it will not take more, and a traditional doctor who says that he will not leave anything behind, are both sure to suffer. This proverb, similar to many other African proverbs that we have dissected here as part of the African Father in America podcast, bring for us a lot of wisdom and knowledge from our ancestors that provide guidance for the people from Africa, whether it's Nigeria, where this proverb comes from, or it's us here in the diaspora. We are still children of the motherland. And so today's proverb, again, it says that a bag that says it will not take more, and a traditional doctor who says he would not leave anything behind, are both sure to suffer. This proverb is for many years, and for the most part, it's always used as a warning, that if you are not willing to adapt, you will ultimately fail. If you're not willing to adapt, you will ultimately fail. And these are the 3 episode takeaways that I want you to note somewhere before we dive into the conversation with our guest today. Number 1 is believe in yourself. Number 2, focus on your goals. And number 3, never stop learning. Because if you don't learn, then you'll not be able to adjust accordingly. So those are some of the starting comments and statements from me, and I just want to invite you to join us on the stage if you are in the audience on Clubhouse. And now to my audience, to my guest, Kendi, how was Father's Day, by the way? Just the other day people were celebrating Father's Day, and I know you are an incredible father. How was it?
Oh, thank you, Simon. My Father's Day was good, actually. I spent lunch with my kids. My son is 11. He actually just turned 11, and my daughter McKenna, she is 6. And so we went for lunch, and matter of fact, my daughter actually, she, this week, last week was their graduation. For my daughter was going to first grade, my son was going to the middle school, sixth grade. So um, I spent last week with my kids. I went to my kids' school, and so this Father's Day for me was kind of a gift. Looking back, how far the achievements and looking at your kids, those that for me is a big thing. When you see your kids growing, it was full of tears. I'll tell you this. I was sitting at the restaurant having lunch with my kids, and now at this age that I can converse with my kids, it's totally different. It's literally totally different. Like we were just having fun, and yeah, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. How was yours?
Mine is every day, my friend. Mine. I think Father's Day for me is every day,
Yeah.
and it's really beautiful what you're saying, though. Last night, I was with my daughter here in this same spot where we are recording until late. We were recording an ad for a client, and just how she has grown up. My daughter is just 8, but how she has
Yeah.
grown up and how we were able to actually create the ad together, talk about it, and then she was able to record it was just beautiful. And your children eventually become your friends.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah. Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, so Candy, when you looked at this proverb, this Nigerian proverb, a bag that says it will not take more, and a traditional doctor who says he would not leave anything behind, are sure to suffer, what comes to your mind?
Um, for me, actually, it's just the same, almost the same thing as you said. In fact, I was thinking on those lines, where if you're not willing, a person who's not willing to adopt, you're sure set up for failure. And because in this world, the world is revolving. Like for instance, technology is revolving. It's like evolving. Sorry, everything around us is moving. And also you can say that this is enough, and you can say that you've learned enough or you've gotten enough for you to kind of move on with life every day. Like you have to for me, like personally, when I look at that proverb, and it's really it means a lot to me, because when I looked at it, I told you that it was kind of difficult on the approach that I would take, because every day I learn a lot. I learn a lot. And if I was to say that, hey, this is enough, or I've learned enough of this thing, I can't take any more of this, for sure, the next day something is changing, right? Or maybe I will need something, so you have to go back and pull it as a toolbox. So I don't think it's I don't think I always say that also enough is not enough, which is it's a risky way to put it, because at some point you have to figure out what is enough and what is not enough. So it's tricky. It's tricky. I told you that that proverb was very tricky. I was trying to to research it. I couldn't find it. I don't know where you found it from, man. So yeah. So I think my take will be that
Yeah.
you have to be adaptive, and you have to be more of easy to bend, easy to um, kind of accept things, new stuff, and then also willing to change. That's really important for me, like being willing to change. And the other thing is accepting that what you have tomorrow, it might change. So that's something probably I'll say.
Yeah.
That's
That's
kind of my
right.
wisdom.
That's right. Yeah, we want to take as much wisdom from you as much as we can, and I appreciate what you're saying, though. I appreciate what you're saying, and I want to welcome everyone who is with us on Clubhouse. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I am here with a special guest, Kenneth Mumanyi, and we are on YouTube. If you want to join us there, I typically host guests here as much as I can, but sometimes, I host the Daily African Proverb show, solo. And those are lonely days. I love having guests, and one of the things I love is also listening to stories from my guest and really learning what is it from your childhood that inspires who you are today. Because not everybody decides to start a telecom company here in the US. And it's over 5 years since I first heard you talking about your ambitions to start a telecom company. And we met multiple times prior to the coronavirus pandemic. And then recently, when we connected, you shared with me that you actually started a company. So we won't talk about Bobo Telecom yet, but I want us to first talk about your childhood story that inspires you today. So
Yes.
many times I also share with my guests that for me, what inspires me as a leader today is that when I was about 8 to 12, I used to distribute milk and bread. My mother had a business where she was one of the main distributors of milk and bread in Kisumu. So she gave me a bike, and every morning I would wake up sometime as early as 2 a.m. in the morning, and I would supply my area, and then I would go to school. So the discipline I have today to do a morning show, this is a show that starts at 6 a.m. It means you have to wake up a
Yeah.
couple of hours before that. And I feel that many leaders, if you listen to the stories of many successful people, whether it's athletes, whether it's business people, whether it's just ordinary parents or people, you find that there is something that happened to them when they were younger that keeps driving them. So I want you to share that story of yours with us today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Simon. You know, first of all, I think I need to invest on a microphone because I don't get to do this kind of interviews mostly through my computer. But honestly, I shared this with you that not many people know me very well. I was born and raised in a few places, but the main area that I grew up was Kibera slums. Um, so I was born in Nairobi, in around Kibera, and then also we went back to Kisii, and I spent a couple few years. Then we came back to Nairobi. Then again I went back to Kisii, then to Meru for two. My mom is a Meru, my dad is a Kisii, and so we ended up again going back. My When I finished up class 8 again, but I went back again to Kibera slums. And one of the things that people don't understand and know, even before then, I used to. This is really it's funny. I'm a businessman in nature, so I used to actually walk to the rich neighborhood, and I'll just walk to the rich kids, Lanata or Kileleshwa, those areas. And then I'll just, walk from Kibera, Toy Market, and then I'm all the way to Adams Arcade. And I'll hang out with the rich kids. And honestly, myself, I used to ask myself one question: why are we living in Kibera while the rich kids are living on this side? What happened? What was the disconnection? And even sometimes I will have like nice clothes. I'll have my nice clothes in a paper bag, in a plastic bag, and then so like shoes, mostly shoes, and because it was muddy, and so I'll walk to close to a rich neighborhood, and I'll change my shoes. I'll put my bad shoes inside a plastic bag, then I'll hide them, and then so I'll just walk in the neighborhood like I'm a rich kid. Um, and so I wanted always to be, like to be somewhere, to be somebody. And I used to ask my father, hey dad, what happened? And he used to say, son, life happens, things like this. And I'm like, nah, nah, nah. So anyway, um I actually told my first business. I went to my dad. And I asked my dad because my high school was my parents could not pay. My dad could not pay for my high school, and I was in Nairobi Milimani, and my dad could not pay for my school fees, and so they kept on sending me home, sending me home, sending me home. One day I was like, Dad, you know what? I need a job because I used to walk from Kibera all the way to Nairobi just to go to school, and then we walk back through State House Road, and then we go back to Kibera. One day I told my dad, Dad, I need a job, and then my dad introduced me to someone at the Belcom Cyber Computer Center, and that is when this guy told me like, "Hey, I have a job for you," and the job was to distribute flyers on the street. So I actually started distributing flyers around the Globe Cinema, the roundabout. So I was distributing flyers, the Global Cinema, and I'll meet college kids and kids wearing uniform, but I don't have uniform. I'm just wearing my ragged t-shirts, and it was so frustrating. So I look at kids and I'm like, hey, hi, welcome to Belcom Cyber Computer College. Hi, welcome to Belcom Cyber Computer College. So it was something that I even till now I memorize it, because that was my first job. And then so I told my dad, something clicked on me because this guy was like, oh, we're looking for someone to be at this station and this station and this station. Something clicked and was like, oh, okay, so I can bring friends and they can work with me. And this guy was like, yeah, yeah, bring them. I started asking people, so hey, what if no, actually the guy met me. He was my brother's friend, and he was like, hey, you know what, you will pay you and then you pay your friends. So I didn't know that I can start an agency where now I'm getting money and I'm paying people. So in the beginning, I was just like, hey, guys, they paid us this much. Okay, take, and that's it. But when I went home, I told my father that, Dad, I want to start a business. And then my father told me, son, are you serious? I said, yes, I want to start a business. I want to own my own company. And then I told my father, I want you to help me write a business plan. So my father helped me to write my first. I have it till now. I have it somewhere. My first business plan. So my father helped me to write it, and so that is when I started a company called Ads Media Link. And yeah, and so Ads Media Link, I was an agency, so I was selling billboard ads. Actually knocked at Indians because Indians owned the billboards, a lot of the billboards. So I went to East Westlands, and I used to call them and ask them, hey, by the way, before then I didn't have money to register, so my mom gave me 10,000 shillings to go and register the business. I convinced my mom, and my mom was like, Kenny, because my mom calls me Kenny, like, Kenny, utaweza kweli? Like, can you do this? You're not even a graduated. So that's how it. That I told her, mom, yes, I will do it, and she gave me 10,000 shillings, which is equivalent to nothing right now. But by then, for me, that was a lot of money. And she took a loan, and she was just, she was mad. And I told her, mom, help me. And so when she helped me, I started that company, and we got some few contracts here and there to do wall branding, and we did a little bit of few things to do with the floor graphics and printing business cards, and we rented an office with a friend of mine actually who came from Canada, George. I told George about my idea, and then so we started. That is how I started business, honestly. And my inspiration was I never wanted to, like I looked at Kibera, and I was like, no, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I was not born here to stay here. I'm somebody, and when I look at other people, I was like, why? My question was like, why them and not me? So basically, that why always kept on driving me, that I can be better, I can become better. So, like, honestly, based on your proverbs, based on your proverb today, it's the same thing as me. Like, I can grow, I can become better, and it's just a matter of time, patience, and I have to keep persevering, learn. Just get as much as I can as I'm going. Never be, never fear to ask, and don't be afraid, to knock on doors, and that's where I'm at. I'm today, here doing all the stuff I'm doing.
Excellent. So, for those who have never been to Kibera, for those who don't know what it looks like, can you paint a picture of Kibera? Uh, and also, it's not everyone that grew up in Kibera that ends up in your current situation, where we are going to talk about your work, your biggest accomplishment as the CEO of Bobo Wireless. But
Yeah.
just paint a picture of Kibera for us for a moment.
So, let me paint a picture of how we used to live. So, my father wasn't able even to pay for a single room. So, Kibera slum is like over 1 million people. I think so. It's like crowded area. Is the second largest. I think it's the second. If I'm not wrong, is the second largest slum probably in the world. And like if you cannot even walk in that those areas, like at a certain time, and it's gang. There's a lot of gang, drugs, drinking, violence, sex. This too much. Like Kibera is like I used to call myself. I used to think of Kibera as honestly like a, I don't know what to describe it. It was gloomy. It was a place where you don't want to be, but at the same time, it had its beauty because when you're growing up in a place like that, like you learn a lot. You learn to do things very fast. You learn to move very fast. You are sharp, your mind, and everything like around you is, like there's violence around you. There's people stealing, there's shooting, there's people like every day. I'll tell you this every day. If I'm not wrong, we when we used to wake up, we'll find someone dead at the railway line. Like someone is dead, someone was murdered. So, or sometimes we find someone outside our door that was murdered by something, or died because of alcohol poisoning, and is just like dead on the side of what do you call, like by the road, or where there's women who cook fish or something. So there was something going on, and the smell of it right now when I go back to Kibera, honestly, I the smell of it is different. But when I was there, I was like the smell, I couldn't even feel anything because I was already there. I was living there. That was like my life. Um, and my father actually was not able even to pay for 800 shillings for our rent. Actually, it was 400 shillings for our rent for a single room. And so he will put us through a window at night. So he will shove us through the window so that we can go sleep. And then he will go sit outside with the watchmen and just sit the whole night. So for us, we will sleep inside. And then in the morning, we'll wake up and then go to Toy Primary, because I went to Toy Primary, and people even didn't even know, what I was, like how I slept, how I ate. Sometimes I'll eat at my auntie's restaurant, which was around by Toy Market, and no one even knew how I was at night. Actually, sometimes I used to clean up the women's. There are women who make fries, and then they had a small box that they put fries, samosas, and dazi, like donuts and stuff. And so in the evening, after school, around 11 or 10 at night, or even sometimes 9, there's this woman I used to go to her place every time, and I'll help her clean it. And so she used to leave for me some fries for at night for dinner, and even sometimes I walk from Toy Market, and there's mangoes. There's these women who I used to help carry mangoes and unpack for their evening, and then the mangoes and stuff. So that's how I was surviving through the Kibera. And honestly, Kibera is right now. If you Google it, it's totally different. Even our time, it was totally different. Honestly, I'll tell you this: most of my friends that I've lived, that I grew up with, I think we are left very few of us, like two or three. Some of them have died. I went back home, and I heard about a couple few people. They were shot dead, and they were gunned down, and some of them, they were, something happened. I don't know, drug, alcohol, poisoning, and so it was. So when I went back and tried to find my friends, I don't see them. Like it's right now, I don't even have friends that are there anymore.
So, how did you not choose violence then? Because there are very few people from Kibera who have never had a gun or have never been involved in criminal activities. I grew up in the slum too, so I want you to share with us a little, like, how comes you are able to escape being a gang member or escape being Kibera. How did you manage?
Actually, I was a gang member, and it's a when I say this with a grain of salt, man. I don't know, but I'm not afraid to share it. But I was involved in a group of gang, and so what we used to do is we used to snatch chains from mostly chains, watches. So we started very small, like stealing from rich people's area bikes, like kids' bicycles. So we'll steal, we'll come and sell it to the people who will scrape them. And then also we will steal like stuff from the car, like the radios. And then I remember one time actually I was caught. I was at Olympic, and so I was caught. And if you know, because you know you're from the slums, when you get caught, there's two things. No, three actually. I will say three. So one is either they will whoop you if you're a kid. If you're a kid, they will either whoop you, and take you to somewhere like a chief area. And the chief, they will whoop you. They will beat you down, right? But if you're a little bit grown up, they will either put a tie on you and then they will burn you, right? Or they will do something. There's something that they will do. Like they will make an example out of you. And so I was caught at Olympic. I actually my friends were like kind of like, it was a sort of an initiation, kind of trying to make me to be part of the group, and they told me, hey, you need to go steal the radio. And I remember it very clearly, because Olympic, there's a place around Olympic by Olympic Primary, where we used to ride bicycle around. So you pay like a few cents, and then you ride bicycle. Someone, there's this guy who, I don't even know where he got these bicycles from. And we as kids, we didn't have bicycles. So and when I talk about that, like right now, I have my kids have bicycles here, and I'm like, I walk around, I'm like, man, what happened? So, back then, so around that area, they told me, Candy, you go there, steal that radio. And so I went, but because I was nervous, I was not like like matured thief, you can call it. So I actually, when I was taking the radio, this guy screamed, Muizi, like a thief, thief, right? And I panicked. And so instead of panicking, I turned around and I said, Paul, see me. And I was just crying. Um, and the guy, actually, the one guy came and he slapped me, and I fell towards, there was the woman who was selling the funny, I remember that very clear, funny fish, the dried fish. And I fell, dried fish and tomatoes. I fell towards that woman, and that woman looked at me. I think she saw her son, and she told me, she said, the guy, wacha, na, stop, 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 stop. And that woman took me, and I started talking to the guys. So the guys who were actually trying to beat me down, they were like touts. Do they call them touts, like drivers, matatu drivers, and all that? So they really wanted to beat me down. And then they took me to the chief. I remember they took me to the Olympic chief, and then the chief, actually, I sat down there. The chief asked me, why did I do that? And yeah, so the chief kind of beat me down a little bit. He gave me some few strokes, and he let me go. But anyway, so I was in that group. I had dreadlocks. I shaved my dreadlocks. I remember one time I was around Ayani. There's a bridge, and we were coming. I started drinking at young age with some guys, and then so one time I was walking from Ayani going all the way to Kibera. They the guys, because I don't know, they thought maybe I snitched on them, and they took me and they threw me from the bridge all the way down the rail line all the way down. So they threw me from the bridge. And even at one time, actually, they used my stomach as a punching bag. So they were punching me. And then one time again, the last one was one kid. not a kid, he was just a grown-up guy. I was walking, he came with a huge stone, and then he hit me from the back, and then he was calling me a snitch because I started joining the church. Actually, I went to a youth center called Youngsters for Christ Team, and I remember that's where my life started changing. So that's where I joined. It was called YCT, Youngsters for Christ Team. I walked in there, and so this gentleman who was there. In fact, one of the guys is a friend of mine till today. He lives here in the US, and he was one of the leaders by that time. So he actually, I noticed that I saw the young guys being happy and enjoying, and they're having good life. And I sat there, and I was a rapper, so I was rapping music. That's how my name Candy came by. And so yeah, so that's how my life kind of started changing. And but coming out of the gang, I was marked down. My brother, I remember my brother telling me that D, because my brother calls me D. Olive, my brother Oliver calls me D, and he was like, D, you need to go back and stay with mom in Nakuru, or you need to go back and stay with mom, or just get out of here, go stay with grandpa, because these guys, they will kill you. But unfortunately, I holded a gun for a while, but it was not like I was planning to do with anything. It was just that I was trying to be, tough guy. But yeah, that was like stupidity, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's what the ghetto is, and thank you for just taking us down, the memory lane, and just sharing even a deeper part of your story with us today. For those who are just joining us, my name is Simon Okelo, and I am the host of the African Father in America podcast. My guest today is Kendi Mumanyi, or Kenneth Mumanyi. He's the CEO of BoboWireless.com. Now, Kendi, I want you to now take us through the journey of how you started this telecom company here in the US. About 5 years ago, you are getting very frustrated because the hoops that you had to jump in order for you to even get licensing was very challenging. So I want you
Yeah.
to just speak to us about what inspired you to start a telecom company. What problem did you see that this company was going to solve, and where it is now? And then at the end of our conversation, I want you to be able to share with us how we can support you. So right now, I just want you to speak to, what inspired you to start BoboWireless.com, and how is it going? Is it what you really struggled to create? And so before you share, I just want to invite. First of all, I want to just give Lila a shout out. Lila Talks is an amazing leader. It's been a minute. I haven't connected with you in a while. I hope you're doing well. And I want to welcome everyone who is in the room with us on Clubhouse. Join us on the stage in a moment. I want to hear your voices as well. I want to hear your interpretation of this proverb. And I also want to hear any comments that you have for our guest today. So, Kendi, briefly share with us a little more about Bobo Wireless and your journey from,
Sure.
the moments I was describing.
Sure. Thanks, Simon. That's a good question. Um, yeah, so around 5 years ago, 6 years ago, actually, around 6 years ago, I went through a divorce. And as you asked me about how was my Father's Day, so I get to see my kids every other weekend, and I get to see my kids every Wednesday. And then like other arrangements that were made by the government. So I went through a very tough divorce, and through that tough divorce, I lost a lot. In fact, one of the things that happened to me, and I think I've shared with you before a little bit, was that I lost everything, um, and I became houseless. So I was basically couching on people. I was staying with a friend, and so it was really tough. I lost my car. They garnished my account. So even any money that I was having, like they just like were taking out of my account. Even actually, they took my license because I was behind child support, and they took my license for a whole year. And so I could not even really travel, drive my car. even go anywhere else, but I literally was frustrated. And I remember one of the things was that I almost actually got into a very bad depression. I was thinking of even taking on my life. I felt like now I'm done. I felt like I'm doomed to be a failure. I thought I was a failure. I thought, like, why am I struggling? Why am I trying? Even at some time, I remember what happened to me was I even thought of running. And really, it's funny that this podcast is about also about fathers, like something, the name of it. And so it was amazing when you're talking about that. I didn't even know when I was like Afia. Now when you're describing it, then it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so I was initially, I was like, no, because the mother of my kids was being tough on me by that time. Now things are kind of a little bit calmed down a little bit, but it was so tough for me to a point of where I even thought of running, just run, leave my kids behind, and just go start a life somewhere. But as things are, and challenges are, I grew up in Kibera, and so how worse can it get? That was my thing. I used to say, how worse can it get? And in Kibera, I never had food. I stayed hungry for quite a long time. I used to sleep outside with watchmen, and I used to do a lot of things outside. Like, by the grace of God, I'm alive. And so I remember one day, my son telling me that, hey, Dad, I love you, and that changed my life completely. And I prayed to God, and I said, God, give me the strength, get me through this, and let me raise my kids. And anyway, that was that part of it. And so I started before I started Bobo Wireless. I started a company called Text Week, and Text Week, I raised it up to having employees, a team, companies who are using my softwares. Like, we had customers like Guest Jeans, Uber, we had Zoho, we had bigger clients. We had over 400 customers, like, already on the platform, and we had almost like 60 paying customers and something like that. So we were making not a lot of
Candy,
money, but we were beginning.
I
Can
lost
you
your
hear me?
audio for a moment, but it's better now. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So anyway, when I started that company, I built it from scratch because I was living in a single room. I found a team, and where there's a will, there's a way. And for me, one thing I always think about is I look for a couple few things, like, is this doable? And then, how hard is it? Even if it's hard, has somebody else done it? And if somebody has done it, I can do it. And I'm always like, I always say that, what can stop me? So one of the things that I looked behind, I was like, okay, I did not study engineering. I never went to school to study engineering, but I am self-taught. So I went to YouTube. I started studying how to, view code, SQL. I did a lot of things to kind of like study product development. How do you develop a product from scratch? What are the stages do you go through developing a product, from the ideation to commercialization to bringing it live? And what do you need? How many people do you need? So I started studying. That's why, like, like the same thing goes back to the proverb. You don't have to say enough is enough. There's always a room for improvement. There's always a room for learning. And so for me, I had to kind of go online, study the market. These people, what have they done? Successful companies, what have they done? So those were the things that I was doing. Just, okay, this is a successful company. What have they done? Who do they get? But sometimes a lot of things were a challenge for me. One was financial. So think of it this way. I don't even have money, and I am dreaming of starting a multi-million dollar company. And so I have this bigger dream, and I don't even know what I'm supposed to do, right? And so when I started from scratch. So I've learned something with life, is that you have a bigger idea. You cannot bite it, all of it. Just take a bite size, chunks and chunks and chunks and chunks. Break it, break it, break it, break it, break it. So find the find the point, that the entry point of how you can get into the idea that you're thinking. And then from there, the growth, be patient, be consistent. Like how you said to earlier, with your podcast, you wake up in the morning, you're consistent, you wake up in the morning and you stay late, you do a lot of things. So like those are the kind of things that made me become successful. Was I started slowly by slowly breaking things and moving and moving, and I was not afraid to fail because I was already my mind. I was like, I'm a failure already. So how far can I go? So I used to be like, if in people's eyes, I used to think of this like my kid's mother thinks of me as a failure. Maybe my friends are thinking of me as a failure. And I was like, you know what? How far can I go? So I said, I am going to try, and I am going to disapprove them, and I'm going to disapprove everybody that I am not a failure. Because already, if you say in your mind that you're a failure, then you're a failure. So for myself, I started like, okay, so what are the challenges? What are the barriers? And I think I mentioned this to you. When I started, my first company failed when we were going to get 5 million on the table. So like I raised the company, and that's 5 million is US dollars, by the way. So I raised the company. Someone actually, I met up with some when I raised the company alone. I met someone at Panera Bread in fact around Factoria, and so this gentleman had a company in Canada, and he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I like your company. I want to buy shares," and he wanted to buy shares with a $500,000. Um, and by that time, I'm going through tough times. So I reached out to my advisor, and then he said, "No, if this guy can give you 500,000, then your company is worth a lot of money." And I said, "Okay, so I will wait." But little did I know that when I'm bringing in co-founders and starting an office, so we had an office in Morocco, we had an office in UK, and here in Seattle, and so that the company failed. So that was my failure. And I was like, okay, it was part of the telecom. So my bigger picture was to start a text messaging company, SMS marketing, and RCS Google. We even part of the Google RCS. We were number 18 in the world on the Google RCS beta testing. So they allowed us to do the beta testing. So that was a big achievement for me. And one thing with me is I'm never afraid. I will send an email out. I'll sit down. I'll draft an email. I'll send it out. And I always say this: what will happen is one thing. They will read my email. They will throw it. They will delete it, or they will read my email and they will respond it, right? And either they will say no, or they will say yes, or they'll say wait, or whatever they will say. So I'm always positive. So anyway, so when I started that company and then we're growing, the company failed, and I honestly lost it. I totally lost it. And so we had a battle between my co-founders and legal. We started going through legal stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this legal stuff with you guys. I have a bigger picture. So and I've learned one thing. I've learned to shelve things that are worth shelving and then moving fast. Move like fail fast. I've learned to fail fast. If you want to succeed in life, I've learned. I really I love to read, and one thing I've learned is if you want to be successful, is always just be, implement with a flash. Just don't just sit there. Just go very fast. And yeah, so Bobo Wireless was not Bobo Wireless. It was Fidelitel. If you remember it, it was Fidelitel. So Fidelity, when I launched it, the first thing a lot of people asked me was like, "Are you out of your mind?" So I was like, "No, I know what I'm doing." And then they said, "Candy, you can just start something like a, international calling, and that's it." I said, "No, I want to start," because I was actually going through. I was going through. Was it Metro PCS around by around around 4 or 5. And so I was going through there, and one time I walked in and I asked this guy, "Hey, I'm looking to get a number." And whenever this guy treated me like a piece of shit. I'm not gonna kid you. Like he looked at me and he started asking me very funny questions, and I was like, "Dude, all I want is a number. I want a number and I want a phone." And then by that time he was asking me, "Oh, do you have money? Do you have this? Do you have that?" I was like, "Okay, you know, is that all?" And I was like, you know what, I'm done. So I actually used a friend of mine to be on our plan, and I was like, you know what, I need you to help me. Let me get a number. And so, I was on her plan, but my idea was like, okay, I walked out of that store and I said, I'll own a telecom. And in fact, that's how my battle of telecom started. And I was like, you know what? I am going to own a telecom. Is it How hard is it? So I did research. I did a lot of research on how to start a telecom. Whoa, man, I was surprised. They were telling me to own an FCC, to have this, you have to have like over 3 million, you have to have a lot of money. And then I'm looking at Virgin Mobile, their marketing expense is 60 million. I was like, oh man, I can't do it, right? So anyway, so that kind of was a distraction for me. But I said, you know what? I'm going to ignore the noises and keep on keeping on. I'm going just to cut the noises off because I'm the man on the arena. So if I start listening to the noises on the people around here who the naysayers, the one who don't do anything, I will be stuck. I was in Kibera. There was a lot of noises. So if I was to listen to everybody around me that, hey, you are doomed to be here, I would have stayed there. But one thing is to shoot, right? So anyway, I had the first time the first barrier for me was the FCC license. FCC license took over 8 months. And so that was discouraging and a lot of money because we had to get lawyers involved. We had to get people involved. And because we are immigrants, the Department of Justice was involved. And so writing all those paperwork became a headache for me. But I said, you know what? If it's hard, it's worth it. So I went through it. And then after that, I got the license 214 for international calling. So I got the license. After that, again, the challenge was that one took another 4 months. Another challenge again was to get a approval, an agreement with T-Mobile to use their towers. So I was like, okay, this is a challenge, and I don't have money, but I met my co-founder, Dr. Ken, and in fact, he was just helping me with money. He would be like, okay, I'll pay 5,000, I'll pay 10,000. And this is actually God, like it was God brought this person in my life immediately after when I was like struggling, right? And so yeah, so and then we partnered first before T-Mobile, we partnered with AT&T, and then through AT&T we failed because they gave us a lot of restrictions, and the company that we are partnering with through AT&T, they kind of became a pain for us, and so we lost it. And so we had a couple of failures. The first failure was a lot of fight. We lacked funding. We built our own platform and our own MVNE and MVNO. So there's two different things. So MVNE powers MVNO, and MVNO is a mobile virtual network operator, the ones that now we have. So there's MNO, which is a mobile network operator, which is the big five: the T-Mobile, the AT&T, the Sprint, the Dish. And then we have MVNE is the company that stays in the middle that enables, so mobile virtual network enabler. It enables the MVNO to kind of shoot because you cannot connect directly to any MNO, because if in case of this anything, they don't want you to break that channel. So we built both MVNE and MVNO with engineers in India and Pakistan. So I got engineers, and I was actually paying them like less money. So I didn't have even money. I was promising them that, hey, I'll pay you, I'll get you guys some money. And so I was struggling. I think if you remember, I went to New York. I met up with a lot of people, Mukisa Kitui. I met up with a lot of people, in this industry. I met up with ICT minister were there. We were in New York, and he was around there, and so I was meeting up with him. And I think it didn't end up. It was doing something, and so my board member, Dr. Namunje, he was like, "Hey, you know what? Hey, we'll find the time to meet this guy up." So funding became a problem. So still, that is still a problem to us today. So anyway, now till today. So we changed the name later after failing our failures and failures. We launched and then we failed. I was like, no, I was devastated, and I was like, I'm going to give up and I'm going to quit. So my co-founder almost quit, and then so one day we waited for a whole month. We sat behind, and I was like, no, I am not going to quit. I am going to continue. So I went back again, and I was like, I went back to the drawing board, and I said, what am I missing? What do I need to get me to this point? And so that was the birth of Bobo Wireless. And then so Bobo now became more successful, more stable, because in the initial, the problem that we had was the sign up. We had our own platform, but when people are signing up, the link between our MVNO, MVNE, and MNO, which is the AT&T or T-Mobile, was breaking somewhere in between. So now that barrier, we got it off. So now we have a stable platform. We have customers using. I am using it, and that's where we are now.
Yeah, it's definitely a long journey that you had to endure in order for you to get to where you are with Bobo Wireless. I deeply appreciate you sharing. This needs to be broken down even further. And someone was commenting on YouTube that you need to talk to kids in the slums in Manyata to inspire them. Because a lot of people struggle, and as the proverb that we're discussing today says, that unless you're willing to adjust, you're ultimately going to fail. So you adjusting is what saved you. So now, Candy, just take a few notes. We want to take a few comments from our speakers who joined us on the stage today.
Sure.
I typically create a little more time, but you had a lot to share and we had a lot to listen to, and I want to make this a popcorn style conversation. I want to just take three speakers on the stage because of time. So I want to just let you all know that it's a popcorn style stage. Just unmic, introduce yourself briefly, and share any comment that you have for my special guest. But also, if you want to share your own interpretation, the proverb today that we are grounding our conversation on is from Nigeria, and it says, a bag that says it will not take more, and a traditional doctor who says he would not leave anything behind are both sure to suffer. And this proverb is teaching us primarily about the idea of being able to adjust with time, knowing when to quit and when to fight back. And so there's no better guest for us to have today than Candy, who shared a lot of inspiring things. So I'll keep the floor open. I just want three guests to contribute, and then we are going to wrap up with Candy sharing how we can all support. Hey Leila, I'll give you the floor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Hey, everyone, this is Leela Talks, and I am just so excited by your inspirational speaker. So my background, not only am I an entrepreneur at a smaller scale, but I study entrepreneurs. I study aspiring entrepreneurs. And so a lot of things that he was saying, I was like, oh, yes, that's very true as far as being able to be adaptive and flexible. But what was so interesting was, I guess, how many times, to his comments about failing. Right. And it's a thin line between moving forward and letting go. And research has shown that when people see you fail, quote unquote, fail, right, where something doesn't work out in a company, investors are actually attracted to you because they say, oh, this person has the experience and the knowledge from previous companies, and they can carry that forward. So it's actually failure isn't really perceived a negative thing from investors. So just want to give that tidbit. But I guess my question is, what inside, right? What if you could just describe a little bit more deeper on that internal compass that told him to keep going, right? When he was broke, from what it sounded like, when when him and his partner weren't sure, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna fail fast, boom, keep it going, keep going. I mean, that can be very tiring, right? I had some real estate projects and I did that, and at the end I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, I conquered and I succeeded, but I was so tired. So if you could just talk a little bit about, like, what was he kind of internally going through emotionally and mentally to know when to call it quits fast and then move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candy. Yeah, that's your question.
So Layla, is it Layla? Right?
It's Lila, and
Yes.
Lila is actually a big deal. You know, you might find a lot of solutions to your problems today. So
Yeah.
you have
So
to
yeah,
speak your
thank you.
heart now.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Actually, one of the things is that I've learned is when is the right time to tell the baby that okay, enough is enough. You're not walking, then you're going to sit down or something. You don't. You have you become patient. Patience is what really like has driven me. One of the things is I'm always determined to see something to come to fruition. And when I was building wh- when I was building Fidelitel and Bobo Wireless, I had a big vision, and I'm a vision carrier. So if I'm working with a team and a team is giving up, I should not be the first one to give up. And of course, it was a time that they were tough for me, like lost everything. In fact, I'll tell you this. I was building my company from Kenmore Library. So I'll go to Kenmore Library, I'll buy Starbucks, and I knew Starbucks, they fill your tea. So I used to go and sit there, and I'll go back,
Yeah.
and then I'll get it. Yeah. So and then I work from Starbucks. And when I was houseless, I was actually taking a shower at the gym, 24-hour fitness in Issaquah. And on the basement, I used to work there because they had a Wi-Fi. So I used to see myself that, I used to have this big picture that, hey, I want to see something come to life. And one of the things is I want to see people even having employment. I want to see my kids have a good life. I want to go back home and build and do something more. So the why of why I'm doing what I'm doing, it's more deeper than just a normal. I'm driven by success. I'm not going to lie to people and say, oh no, I'm driven by money too. I grew up in Kibera slum. I don't want to go back to Kibera slum or just live that life, but I want to be able to help people that, for instance, just even start a foundation back home that can help kind of pay school fees for kids who are not able, even teach them to learn and stuff like that. So basically, that to me is what a lot of things that drives me are things like that. Of course, when you work with people who have everything set up for their life, you have to be more careful. Like if you have a net that you can fall back to. So for me, I never had a net. I didn't have a net, or I didn't have a boat that I can fall back to. So I knew I'm taking a jump, and if my parachute is not going to open, I will get bruises and I will fall very bad. So I decided, and I said, success is the only way out. And and so yeah, I don't know if I
Yeah,
answered your question.
yeah, that was an incredible question, Leila. And Leila, I would actually love to have you as a guest in the future. Now, I want to check with everyone else on the stage. Is there anybody else that has a comment or question? We are at the very tail end of our time together today. We will be back here tomorrow, and I promise we will have about 30 minutes for all of you, our amazing supporters and guests, to be able to contribute as we usually do. So I want to just create space for maybe one more person, and then we will wrap up our time together. Ken, remember, we would love for you to let us know how we can support you, because you never know who is listening right now, and you never know who the person who is listening is connected to. So I'll keep the floor open for another minute. Hey, Stella, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Hi,
Wonderful.
Simon. Hi, everyone. Uh, Thank you so much for that story, Ken. And I've really learned a lot. And there's something that Leila said about failure. Leila, could you kindly repeat, please? Failure is not something I missed the last part.
I'm sorry. This is Leila. You want me to repeat something?
Yeah, you
Yes, there's something you said about failure. That failure is not something, and I missed the last part.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Just real quick. So, a lot of people, this conception about failure is like a negative thing, right? Like, oh, I didn't meet my goal. But what I was saying is from like an academic research perspective, when serial entrepreneurs, people who continue like what this guest is doing, you have a business, you have a business, you have a business, some fail, some don't. They have shown that investors who evaluate an entrepreneur who has not failed, hasn't had experience, versus an entrepreneur who has failed maybe multiple times, they're actually attractive to investors because they see the value of the assets of that journey. So just wanted to share that tidbit.
Thank you so much. That's all, Simon. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful that Lila is here. Debbie, nice to see you. Steve, I see 24K is here as well, and Lavender, Cabs, Roger, brother. Thank you all, Mahag and Laron and Sase and Mariam and Kenya and Chanya and Canva and Coach and Jide. Thank you all for being here with us. And I also see incredible people joining us on YouTube. My brother Quinton Brown, thank you. Steven, thank you. And brother Art, thank you all for being with us live and direct right now. I love creating space for our guests to promote their work, and to get support from our community, because I believe that in the village, this is the African village, this is the virtual African village. When people are sitting around the village fire, every day one person is highlighted and given an opportunity to share how they can be supported. So today is your day, Kendi.
Thank you. Simon, thank you so much, honestly, for inviting me to your podcast, and thank you everyone for joining us and just listening to me just mambo jumping and giving you guys all the spilling all the by background. But I know you'd have been doing something better, but I really appreciate your time. And yeah, so when I started Fidelity and now Bobo Wireless, the challenge always remain is funding. And of course, I have a vehicle that is on the road, but I don't have the funding. And right now we're experiencing a good kind of reception from people. I'll tell you this. This is really funny. When I launched Bobo, and I thought that I would reach out to Kenyans and communities and people that I know, but I was surprised. I was surprised to find out that a lot of my customers are Gambians. So yeah, so I don't people that I don't even know, and Gambians, South Africa, and then we have like Mexicans, Spanish community, and and then so it was like a very funny. I have very few Kenyans, and so I have learned something that um, this world is incredible. Like whenever you're launching something, don't just narrow it and say, okay, this is it. When I let it out there, I know that there are many things. There's many iterations that we are doing. Me being a product owner, product manager, that's my background. I went back to school to study, and I got certified as a product manager from a product school. And the reason why I did that was to learn how these Fortune 500 or these big startups that are starting, how they build their companies and their startup and to grow. And so we are coming up with new features, new ideas, new value added services. We're going to add a lot of good stuffs in it. For instance, we want to connect. We want to. In fact, we are the cheapest. I shouldn't claim that much, but we are the cheapest compared even to Boss Wireless, Reptel for international calling. So we have people like I call back home. I call my parents, and it's cheaper. Um, And that's one thing, that's the barrier that I want to cut. I want to reduce that barrier of international calling. And, in the future, as a roadmap, I plan to own my own towers. And even maybe not here, but it's something in our mind, to own our own towers back home. So those are kind of the things that we are looking forward. If people who have connections, people who would like to, talk to us about it. But also as well, we lack a team of marketing people. We are very small. We have a small team right now. I don't have enough people to kind of help me push this product. So basically, right now, I'm relying on the word of mouth. And that's because don't have money to hire as many people as I can. So people, in fact, the first time I talk to someone, they'll be like, "Oh, really?" And then they're like, "Sign me up." I'm always shocked. Like, "Hey, I like to switch." And then they're like, "Oh, is this African owned?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." They're like, "Oh, man, is it African? You're the first African?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." And so it's I'm receiving a very overwhelming love from people, our own people, and even actually white people. They really love to hear the story behind how I've built the company, and it's incredibly amazing. And so my ask for you guys is that to reach out to whoever, or even you yourself, if you'd like to use our wireless, reach out. I'll give you a link. You can connect with me. You can reach. I think I'll share my email address or my number, and then as well as our bobowireless.com. So if you can go to bobowireless.com, you can reach out there, or maybe send me an email like info@bobowireless.com. In fact, yeah, customer service at bobowireless.com. And so, yeah, that's where we are. And yeah, thank you so much.
Of course,
Honestly.
man. Of course, I have to say that, being an entrepreneur is being willing to be vulnerable. So today, Candy, you are so vulnerable. You shared so many stories with us that now, as also an entrepreneur, I feel like, man, I need to do more of what you do. I need to just, let my ego, go away and just, do what you did today. So if you're here with us and you're just joining us on Clubhouse, thank you. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. We've had an incredible conversation today. Ken, do you have something to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, Simon, there's something I wanted to say for people who actually, Leila, I think you mentioned something really great, and that is the spirit, that don't be afraid to fail, because most people are afraid to fail. And anybody who is listening here and you're like, okay, I can't do it, you can do it. There's a market for everyone. There's opportunity for everyone. It's just that there's untapped potential that is out there, and most of us, we fear because we fear failure, we fear to be judged. And if you are there and you're wondering that, okay, I don't have this, or I cannot do this, one thing I'll say is that the moment you start, and step by step you get the momentum, I know for sure people will come to your rescue. It doesn't matter now, tomorrow, or in the future. Somehow, like, I didn't know I'll sit here, like, I come from Kibera. I didn't know that I'll be featured in a magazine one time, or I'll be speaking in a platform like this. I'll be giving people, I'll be advising people. But all it takes is to start. So if you're somebody and you're wondering about idea, don't just shelve it. Just start, and just keep moving. Keep moving. That's my advice for you today. Just keep moving.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And to everyone who has been with us today, that marks the end of our conversation today. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is at the top of the Clubhouse room. And if you're watching, remember to subscribe and also push the thumbs up button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you are new to the Daily African Proverbs and you've not connected with me on Instagram, that's where I normally post the proverb of the day, and I normally respond to every comment that I get there. So it's really a true village that we've been building since January last year. So Again, I truly appreciate you all. And Candy, take good care of yourself, my brother. Have a beautiful day. See you all tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.